All right, let's go to Jeff in New Hampshire. Hey, Jeff.
Yes, good morning, Attorney Pippen.
Yeah, so how are you? Are you watching us or listening to us, and where from? You're from New Hampshire?
Yes, I'm watching you on Facebook as we speak.
All right. Well, great. What can we do for you?
So my question had to do with living trusts. You had spoken about that a little while ago. My understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that a living trust is like a separate entity. In other words, I'm an entity, a person. So are you. A living trust, a trust is another entity, and it seems to be that as people do estate planning, their goal is to put all their assets under the ownership of the trust, so they cannot be basically attacked by creditors. Is my understanding correct?
Well, not exactly. And first of all, let me say I'm not licensed in New Hampshire, so unless you're a Florida resident, you probably need to get the advice of a New Hampshire attorney.
Understood.
All
yes,
right.
I have family in Florida. That's why I
Okay.
have my interest.
All right, a living trust, when I create a living trust for myself, and I'm using just myself for an example in this question, the living trust has my tax number, my social security number. My trust and myself are the same entity. So I'm not creating a different entity with a different tax number. And I can put my house into the trust. I can put my financial accounts in the trust. I can put whatever I want to in my trust. It needs to go in my trust. When I pass away, just like my estate would be a different entity than me because I'm deceased, and then if you pass away with a will, the estate would be a different entity. If you pass away with a living trust, the trust at that point would be a different entity. Now, you mentioned the word asset protection along the way. The trust, you can create what's called an irrevocable trust, which would be a different entity. Now, most of my clients don't do that. And if you're talking about asset protection for an elderly person that wants to get on Medicaid, there's a 5-year look-back period on an irrevocable trust, which is a different entity. So there are all kinds of trusts. Most of the time we're talking about living trusts on the show. They're living trust. You and the trust are the same entity. It's not a different entity. It has your same tax number. There's no extra tax record keeping. There's no extra tax return for the trust. You and the trust are the same entity. So does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thanks very much. So what I was referring to, I guess, was an irrevocable trust, which, as you said, is not all that common.
Yeah, it's for a special purpose. People used to do it so they wouldn't own anything, so they could apply for Medicaid. So they tightened up that rule and made a 5-year look-back period now. It used to be a 3-year look-back period. I mean, so it's changed along the way, but you can't own assets one day, create an irrevocable trust, put them all in there, then they're still countable assets up to 5 years look back.
Understood. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks for calling. Thanks for watching on Facebook.
My pleasure.
All right.